Darren, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah. Darren Grant. Currently, I am employed as a head of IT for a large manufacturing pet food company in North Yorkshire. Um, I am 52 years old. If I could say things like that, I know I'm not meant to ask these things, but hey, all I've ever done in my career is purely IT. I've never worked outside of it since the age of 17, 18-year-old, where I started off as a computer operator trainee programmer, and worked my way through to where I am now. Primarily, I've worked for software houses, for consultancies, um, rather than actually being part of an actual business and being the customer, shall we say, of those software companies. For the last 9, 10 years, I've been where I'm at now. I came here as a contractor, as a consultant ERP specialist to help with the implementation of their Epicor Tropos system. And when that came to a point of where they were going to run with it themselves, they offered me the role where I'm at now of head of IT. Prior to that, I've worked in a number of different sectors, whether it be manufacturing, working for the Ministry of Justice, through another software company, helping create systems to help rehabilitate offenders. Prior to that, it was for an oil company. Prior to that was a mining company, which took me luckily around the world in America, Australia, South Africa, and in Europe. I spent 18, 20 weeks traveling around the world with them, which culminated in a 9-month contract out in South Africa to help with their SAP implementation around sales and distribution. Prior to that, it was aerospace. I've worked in software houses where I've implemented bespoke systems or systems that complement the ERP, ranging anything from a company that made Wellington boots and Macs to ladies' underwear and lingerie, to car parts. So it's been a wide and varied set of industries that I've actually had the experience in working, and thankfully that's been through to working for software houses, whether it be permanent or contract work.
Lovely, brilliant. All right. What I'm going to do is dig a little bit into your experience. I know, obviously, you mentioned you were or are consulting, contracting. Um, in terms of your experience with finance systems, could you go into a little bit of depth about your knowledge of it, your background of it?
Sure, I'd say, if I'm being totally honest, my experience of the finance system has been predominantly over the last 10 years working
Yeah,
where I'm at now. Everything prior to that has been around the manufacturing or software functional side. Where with my current company, I get involved a lot with the group finance director, to help run projects and configure the Tropos ERP system to
yeah,
allow them to get the relevant information into and out of Tropos. It's not something with regards to an actual, shall we say, finance package, something like Sage or the Kinetic that Epicor use. We don't have that. We actually use a product called Opera, which is a standalone. So I have experience of the integration between a standalone finance system and the ERP.
yeah.
The configuration of that ERP around costings, the mnemonics around all the sales ledgers, purchase ledgers, etc., assisted with them, and also taking control of when we've had added new companies to that ERP system to make sure that everything is set up around that. So the actual functional side of the transactions within the ERP system, yeah, quite comfortable with. Admittedly, it's only been the last 10 years since I've been where I'm at.
Yeah, brilliant. And I know you touched on it there, but in terms of the level of communication that you have, obviously, I know you mentioned director there. How do you handle those conversations with someone like a director or, potentially a CFO? How would you handle that?
Okay, well, my direct line manager is the CEO, so I'm constantly dealing with the board of directors.
Yeah,
or what they call their executive leadership team. A lot of my communication is around those people, CFOs, the CEO, and the relevant head of departments and directors, as well as even down to the normal operators, just
Yeah.
to get a different version. And depending on who you talk to, depends on how you communicate. I think with the C-suite and the directors of the business, we need to, and just always concise and very clear in what they do.
Yeah.
Their time is very precious, and they just want to know exactly what's happening in as much detail, but in as not say as little time, but as easily as possible.
Yeah.
I try to, and in fact, I don't try. I'm very good at changing how I talk to people depending on their IT level of experience, because not everybody understands the same language or the same details. And
Yeah.
I sometimes find that visual aids help as well with those type of people. So sitting with them and explaining as clear and concise as I can is how I deal with that, and always try and preempt the questions that they're going to ask, because sometimes they do throw some good curveballs, and it's always good to be prepared.
Yeah. Yeah. Brill. I think following on from that as well, if you were to sit down with the CFO, obviously the role is quite functional. How would you explain kind of financial deliverables or, an integration? Would you use it visually like you just said, or is there something that you'd add on to it?
I think it depends on the person who you're talking to and what the requirements are. I think
Yeah.
it depends on what their requirements are, depends on how you approach it. If
Yeah.
it is just a sit down for a, shall we say, a general, well, how do you think we should do this? You don't need to go to the level of detail of death by PowerPoint and visuals, etc. We could just have a frank and open conversation, which I'm very approachable for things like that. I think everything should be just open. There's nothing, no secrets, no trying to pull
Yeah.
the wool over someone. I'd be totally honest with them. If it was more detailed, then obviously, yeah, just going back to what I said, you've got to prepare for it. And depending on the audience who it is, depends on how I would present that, whether it be with visuals, but keeping it still concise and explaining the actual flaws and what they are going to get. But also to ensure they understand what they're going to get and set expectations, because some people, some directors, or some people I've gone to when I've been in the consultancy or working for software houses, they want the world, and sometimes you just can't deliver the world.
Yeah.
And I'd rather be open and honest about what we can deliver rather than overpromise and disappoint whoever. So yeah, it's still to that level of deal of being concise, to the point, and again, depending on how we're doing it, whether you use visuals or not.
Yeah. Well, amazing. And again, I know touching on what you said before, so I know you come from a consultancy background,
Yes.
contracting. How do you think, or how would you describe yourself as a consultant? And I know you went into a little bit of depth in it before, but perhaps some of the issues that you faced, obviously coming in as an outside consultant can be quite difficult. So perhaps going into something like that.
I think so. If when you come in as a consultant, the types of issues that I've experienced run into is sometimes people aren't quite open to providing the information that you need.
Yeah.
And I understand people have day-to-day jobs that they need to do, as well as any request from a consultancy firm coming in to do some work for them. So it's trying to break down that barrier of getting people to help you without impacting them too much, and rather than being forceful, you've got to tread carefully. I think there's a fine line between overconfident and wanting the project done
Yeah.
to being pushy. You've got to make sure that you keep the customer focus in mind, and make sure that they're always happy with what you do. I've run into occasions where people have been very stubborn
Yeah.
because they felt that the job should be done internally. So you sometimes get those people who resent you actually being there. Um, one software company I work for, we implemented bespoke systems that integrated in the ERP on shop floors, delivering mobile handheld devices. And
Yeah.
I'm going back 20 years ago now, so this is going back a while. And at that time, people saw it as, this is going to take away my job. and we felt got a lot of resistance. Even when I started where I'm at now 10 years ago, there was that bit of resentment from the operators about this is going to take away our job. And it's reassuring those type of people as well that it's not going to, it's going to make your life easier. It's
Yeah.
going to, you'll be able to do other things that you sort of like you saying you're stressed because you got too much on. It's going to make it easier for you. It's not about
Yeah.
replacing people. It's about making life better. And I think having that type of communication with people to make the projects run smoothly um, is really good. Now, other issues are sometimes as well. It can go the other way. You can have people that are overly confident and they try to run before they can walk.
Yeah.
And you've got to keep people on a level base and make sure that everything is going to plan, the timelines are correct, you're not making it overcomplicated for people, but just making sure and keeping control of those people. And the process is very important, as well as keeping those timelines and people and keeping the board or the sponsors happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Brill. And in terms of how you tend to manage that, the I guess the more negative aspects of it, and how you would manage, I guess, a team, because I know obviously you will be doing that at the moment. How do you think you come across as someone at that level?
Um, I feel I come across, I'm very approachable. I understand everyone has a job title, everybody
Yeah.
has their roles. I'm a big believer in, excuse me, we work as a team. I'm not the type of person who, if I think, oh well, I shouldn't be doing that, but it needs to be done, it gets done. I'll just do it. I'm
Yeah.
very that way inclined. I'm not overly concerned of you should be doing that, you should be doing that. If you don't do it, then yes, there's that hierarchy to pull people on one side and say, come on,
Yeah.
you're slacking it, you need to get done. But overall, I like to do things as we're one team, we're there for a goal, we all get the recognition at the end of it, and let's get on and get it going. And I like to bring that across with customers as well, make them feel
Yeah.
part of the team, not that it's another consultancy coming in to do the work. Get people involved.
Yeah.
The more they're involved, the better they feel about it, um, the more success you'll get having that customer engagement as well.
Yeah. Brill. Amazing. And in terms of your skill with finding solutions and I guess solution architecture, should we say, solving issues, explain it to me. Tell me what you've done and how you handle it.
Oh well, it's constant where I'm at now. It is the company was very, shall we say, immature in its approach to
Yeah.
IT. When I joined 10 years ago, it was like stepping back in the 1980s. They'd never employed an IT person before. When I joined as a contractor, they had just employed an IT manager 2 weeks prior to that, and he was their first ever employee. I mean, the company now, it's 450 million pound a year turnover,
Yeah.
best in breed for the industry that it's in. So I've seen a big transformation. So I've seen a lot of problems coming out of the business in as to how they have want to improve processes within the business and how IT and systems can help with those processes, bringing in the
Yeah.
right level of expertise, whether it be from an external consultancy or a contractor to help with things, to get that level of knowledge within the business to make things happen. Again, I'll go back to what we discussed before about knowing your audience.
Yeah.
Depending on who's asking the request or the problem for the solution to be provided, it can be quite I'm not going to say difficult, but it's quite challenging in the fact that people will come and ask for things to be fixed without knowing what is happening elsewhere within the business and the impact of what they're asking for
Yeah.
on other parts of the business. So when the best way for this for me is I just get everybody in a room as soon as I can or explain to the requesters, this is happening, this will impact what you're doing, so that problem will go away in
Yeah.
due course. It's about, again, setting expectations and getting the requirements down, documented, and setting it out within the business to find the right solution for the problem. It could be that we can resolve it internally with some developers that I've got. It could be that we do have to go out to an external company for a
Yeah.
specialty piece of software. So going down the RFP process getting various quotes and getting demos from different people. But what I do as well with that is it is not an IT decision for that system. The system has to work for the business.
Yeah.
Big believer that the business own the system and the data, and it's only as good as they make it. The IT and functional people are there to advise on how it should be used and give best practice options. If the business decide not to take it, that's up to them. So yeah, it is a case of involving everybody and providing the best options and solutions to
Yeah.
the problems.
Well, in terms of your experience with configuration, have you done much on any of the more functional modules?
In my current employment, yes, it has been a case of the configuration of the current ERP system has been predominantly down to myself over the years,
Yeah.
with the assistance of Epicor and their special skill set and being the vendor. So I've got a very close relationship with Epicor themselves,
Yeah.
even to the point of they developed a logistics module, transport module for a company who were using Tropos and who I was actually a contractor for them as well. This was the oil company, and it was bug ridden. And my background of software and actually from a development background as well, I actually went down to I think is it based in Stoke? I think where Epicor are based, and I spent 2 or 3 days down there with their development team and their analysts to point out all of the issues that they didn't find,
Yeah.
to assist them in their development side, their testing, and to end up producing the function that it needed with that wasn't bug ridden, shall we say, back to the customer who I was actually working for. So so yeah, so the solutions come from a lot of different places, including the vendor.
Yeah. Bro. And kind of one key thing that I would like to kind of not pick on, that's the wrong phrase, isn't it? But ask about is in your current position, have you done much with any sort of intercompany trading or anything like that?
Yes, well, we even though we're one group, we have there's 3 different companies currently within the Tropos ERP system,
Yeah.
because of the different legal entities. So yes, we've got set up the automatic into sales orders, so the sales orders purchased on between companies, from a site that we've got in Wales, and also over to it's not an actual site. We've got a European company set up within the ERP because we do sell to a third party, in I think it's in Belgium.
Yeah.
So we do have to do the intercompany sales to be able to move stock around and get that financial the ledgers right,
Yeah.
to keep that right. So all the purchase order, sales order, or inter-site movements, yeah, dealt with that quite a lot lately.
Yeah. Bro. Um, okay. I guess the last one that I would kind of like to ask is in terms of the skills that you have currently, what do you think makes you a good fit for the role?
I like to talk. He's one. I'm not backwards in coming forwards. I listen to people very well.
Yeah.
I've one thing I've got to admit to. Sometimes I'm a bit of a bugger for cutting people off when they're talking. It's just a natural thing. If a question pops into my head, it comes out. I'm working hard not to do it, but I'll be honest that it is one of those things. But no, with regards to the actual role, it's been my bread and butter from a consultancy side,
Yeah.
from way back in late 90s onwards,
Yeah.
working for different software houses, and that ability to go into different companies and have to pick up their business processes quickly. Admittedly, I think all ERPs do the same. If you do pick and dispatch in one company, it's the same in another
Yeah.
company, and this ERP is just different way of doing it. But there's still some little quirks that companies do themselves, and I think that ability to pick up on the actual process that they're doing and advise accordingly. and work with the people is, I think that's one of my good strengths of listening and very quickly being able to provide a solution in quick turnarounds. I think some people say I might be on that spectrum a little bit. It's a bit of a Rain Man for my head just goes into gear and bang, out it comes.
Brill. I think that's everything from me. So thank you very much.